what? What's causing the vascular challenges in the brain? The hypertension, the high cholesterol, overweight, sedentary lifestyle. If we can do some lifestyle interventions and reverse some of those bad habits, get rid of some of those bad habits, the brain can actually start to work to improve itself in this type of condition, and functioning will improve. So that's why it's really important that we try to get as early of a diagnosis as possible. If we catch the diagnosis all the way down here, there's very little that can be done because the damage is too extensive to the brain. What a lot of research is going into right now with this latency period is biomarkers. Biomarkers are certain substances, like these amyloid plaques that are found in your blood, your cerebral spinal fluid, or even your saliva, that shows that this pathological process is occurring. They're doing a lot of tests and research on this now. And we've gotten pretty good at identifying when there are these plaques and proteins in the blood that signal a pathological process like Alzheimer's dementia. But there's a problem with this. One is there's a 30% false positive rate, meaning that you are an individual and you have these plaques in your, or these proteins in your blood, documented through the blood work, but you will never, 30% of those individuals will never go on to develop AD. So you think, well, that's horrible, 30% false positive. That's not really good in medicine. That's true. But what's really important for the researchers is what's going on in that 30%. Why are they not developing AD when 70% of their peers are? So that's really where the research is going into. And there's another problem with these biomarkers that you may even see on the news. Okay, we can identify it early, but we have no treatments for it. We got nothing for you. So you can be diagnosed with these proteins in your blood that are a marker for Alzheimer's dementia, but there's really nothing you can do about it except for starting the medications that help slow down the decline, which is kind of up in the air whether they do anything this early in the process. Okay, this is a healthy brain. This is advanced Alzheimer's brain. So basically what happens is those plaques form tangles, these neurofibrillary tangles, and they basically choke off the neurons. As they choke off the neurons, those brain cells die, and the brain starts to shrink. When you pay close attention to this area right here, this is called the hippocampus. Notice the difference. There's a big vacuum right there of space. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and I just want you to remember that the hippocampus area right there. This is what vascular dementia looks like, pretty advanced stage here. But these little white cloudy areas, those are strokes that have occurred. What happens when you have a stroke? So this stroke can be literally the size of that laser pinhead, right? That laser point. You have this little, blood vessels can get as small as a strand of hair, right? And it just takes a small little emboli, small little blockage of that blood vessel to block it up, and then it chokes off that brain cell. But what happens when we have cell death in our body, it doesn't just happen in one isolated, it just doesn't affect that cell, because when something dies in our body, it releases a lot of gunk. And that gunk causes oxidation in the body. And that oxidation is not nice to the other cells surrounding that cell. So you have kind of almost a ripple effect going on, that one cell dies and it causes the other cells around it to die and then become dysfunctional and so on. That oxidation effect can be counteracted by having a diet rich in what? Antioxidants. That's why having a diet rich in antioxidants is so important, because you're reducing the oxidative stress in your brain, in your body, brain or the rest of your body. So diets that are rich in leafy green vegetables, peppers, lots of fruits and vegetables, berries, high antioxidants, and also supplements like omega-3s, coenzyme Q10, resveratrol. Those type of supplements that are high antioxidant rich supplements are theorized in conjunction with a healthy diet to lower the oxidative stress and burden that's placed in your body that results in cell death. This is actually the first biblical reference of a senior moment. Everybody gets it, right? Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, so when I work with a patient, my goal is not to just diagnose and then send them back to their physician. I want the family to be able to be left with some interventions and some strategies based on what stage of the dementia journey the patient is on. Okay? So these intervention strategies that I'm going to be talking about today, they're not necessarily interventions that we would use for a mild cognitive impairment or a mild case of dementia, because there the brain is functioning with good capacity still, and we want to try to figure out different avenues, different approaches in order to care for that person. These interventions are more for someone who's a little bit more further along in the journey. The later stages of mild, the middle stages of the dementia, and even to the advanced stages. Now, when I look at dementia, there's stage 1 through 10, there's stage 1 through 7, there's stage 1 through 20. I just look at mild, moderate, and advanced. And then along each one of those, there is certainly a continuum. You can have an early mild and an advanced mild. You can have an advanced moderate stage. Everybody follow me on that? So when we do those paper and pencil tests, we look at key domains of functioning. And basically we look at 8 domains, all right? I'm going to focus, not that these aren't important, but I'm just going to focus on these 3 domains here. Memory, executive functions, and language. Because to me, and this is just my own personal opinion, but it's these 3 that cause some of the more significant challenges in dementia-related behaviors. This right here certainly can as well, but this is a presentation unto itself that I won't get into. So executive functions, well, I'll go into executive functions in just a minute. So let's talk about memory and learning first. Oops, going the wrong way. Why is this reversing? Okay, there we go. All right, so neuroanatomy, memory and learning, neuroanatomy. Global brain areas are responsible for memory. It's not just one part of your brain is responsible for the memory. That memory is dependent on the type of memory stimulus. So if this is a visual memory, the sunset in Maui during your anniversary, that's a visual memory. That's being stored in the visual part of your brain, in the occipital, the rear region. Probably. We don't know this for certain, but this is our theory. Now, if you're visualizing the sunset in Maui on your honeymoon, and then you're thinking about the sweet nothings that your husband or wife was whispering to you, then, we have a language-based memory. So we're tying in the visual memory over to our left hemisphere where language is. So it depends on what type of memory it is where it's stored. And those memories can be tied together. And as memories start to fade, or you start to have memory problems, or you just can't put your memories together very well just because you have a normal lapse of memory, you notice that sometimes you have difficulties making those connections. Whoever has had the situation where you heard something, but you couldn't remember who told it to you. That's that connection. You heard it, but you can't visualize who that person was. They're not drawing that together. So there's a lot of processes that occur in order for make a memory accurate, and this is why memories are so fallible, and that there's a lot of things that can disrupt that connection being made. So that's why eyewitness accounts, and when a witness is on the stand and they're based on memory, there's a lot of errors that can happen based on memory retrieval. The hippocampus, so remember that Alzheimer's picture? The hippocampus, the entorhinal cortex, and medial temporal lobes, so this part of our brain here, are responsible for short-term memory and consolidation. Okay? So you're told some information,